So, you've decided to run your first Dungeons and Dragons session. Well, congratulations. I'm here to welcome you. I know it can be a little overwhelming, but I'm going to help you figure this out. It can be a really fun and creative process, but it takes some time to get used to. So, this guide is going to help you walk through the process of not only creating it, but running your first session and building this world to help you on your way to creating more sessions down the road. The time required is going to be about 2 to 6 hours, depending on how much work you want to put in. And really, any environment works, but I personally recommend a quiet space as it helps me focus. So the materials needed are going to be things like a Dungeons and Dragons rulebook, some kind of note-taking device, some kind of dice, whether that be actual physical dice or if you need some digital equivalent like Google Dice Rollers, that works fine. You're going to need all the players' character backstories as it's going to help you build this world. And then you're going to need writing utensils if you're taking physical notes. And optionally, like maps, miniatures, and visual aids are all nice, but they're not required because theater of the mind can be super powerful. So, what we first need to do is establish by world building. So, we need to figure out what tone we want to run. This can be something like horror, mystery, action, or adventure, but it's really dependent on what your players are looking for. If not everyone's comfortable with it, you probably shouldn't run that kind of thing. So, first, we want to focus on creating the biome. What kind of area are they going to be in? It's going to be something that's aquatic, like rivers and lakes, something that's more foresty, like jungles or swamps. Maybe a desert or tundra is what you're looking for, things like dunes or glaciers. Or you want something more basic, like grasslands with prairies and marshes, something like that. Now that we have that picked, we want to pick some kind of settlement to go here. This is going to be something like a city, town, village, or camp. This is going to be a place where your players are going to start and they can go interact and meet people. It's just what kind of area are they in? This is going to help set your vibe of what place you're in. And then we're going to add establishments and points of interest, things like taverns, forges, temples, maybe even going to the wilderness or a marketplace or somewhere like that's lodging for like to spend the night. They can find like mysterious clues, overhear rumors, get quests, help get new equipment or something else, something that's going to help them in some way to continue on the session. And now we have a bit of a world. We need to gather a party. So you need to get your players together and get them to have some kind of backstory. And that doesn't have to be anything complex, but the things we want to look for is the important people to them, whether that's like family, friends, mentors, something like that. The important locations, say like their hometown or something like that. And then what their like defining moments. So this can be like, hey, my brother went missing or I ran away from home. Something that's gonna like stand out for their character. And this is gonna be really helpful because it allows you to have these locations that you don't have to come up with on your own. Your players are helping you build your world. And now we need to connect the players to the starting location. This can be for a number of reasons, whether it's they were all hired for the same job, maybe they're an established group of travelers that already work together. Maybe they'll have like a weird connection to this tavern dude. For some reason or another, they've all met him or know him and are super good friends with him. Or even maybe they're all investigating the same problem. Like there's a missing dog poster. Where could that dog have gone? So now that we have that, we want to create an antagonist. This is going to be the thing that's going to drive them and something that they're going to be their end goal to defeat. This is going to be, we need to figure out their goal for what they're trying to accomplish, a need for what they require to complete this goal, and then a want for like what they personally desire. And then we need to connect it to the player somehow. Why should they care? What gives them a reason to be drawn in? This could be somehow that antagonist is like It's connected to one of their family members. Maybe that's the reason their family member went missing. Or they're the reason that a curse is spreading through the town, or that there's a locked chest that they found that had an artifact that the antagonist needs, and now that he knows they have it, he's hunting them down. So, now with this antagonist in our world and our players' backstories, we need to create a quest. We know what the big bad is, what our antagonist, so we need to decide a purpose. What kind of things are the players going to find? Who needs their help? What dangers might they face? And what information are they going to learn? So, an example of this could be like that there has been livestock that's been disappearing from a nearby forest, and there's been strange tracks that lead away from the village. Your players are going to have some reason to go investigate and figure out what that was about. So, the three types of encounters that we need to plan for this quest are going to be a social encounter, an exploration encounter, and a combat encounter. These are all important in different ways. The social one is typically going to happen in the town, and that's going to be some kind of conversation or investigation that they're going to accomplish that's going to start hooking them into this quest and giving them a reason to care. So the next part is exploration. This is them starting to follow those tracks into the forest and figure out what's going on. And finally is combat, and that is while they're out in that forest, what do they encounter? Is it some kind of bear that's just out and about, or did they find the big bad's group of bandits that are now trying to hunt them to get rid of the witnesses? So these are important things to keep out for, but that's about where our prep ends actually. We don't need a lot. It's not important to prep a whole world. It's important to just figure out what we need to have a good first session and go from there. So, as we begin the actual session, we need to write an opening scene, something that's going to be descriptive and sets the tone and helps immerse your players into this world. Something like you find yourself in a dimly lit tavern, surrounded by the common folk of the town as you watch an orc woman walk up to the counter. You can't quite hear what she's saying, but as you look around, you notice you're not the only one trying to listen in on what she's saying. This draws in your players, giving this descriptive bit. It's so enticing. It pulls your players in, but it's important not to overdo this. So, as you are presenting this first hook, you're pushing this adventure along, and they get to go talk to NPCs or other things. It's a good way to draw in your players with either this introduction or after they've started to talk a bit and meet, you have some kind of hook. Say that they're all talking in a tavern and all of a sudden a scream is erupted from outside. Everyone's going to go and investigate that. So, the last bit is that it's important to let players make choices. So allow them to talk to NPCs, search for clues on their own, buy supplies, and do whatever. They might completely ignore your expected path, and that's completely okay. However you have it, make sure it's adaptive. Say that there's this quest that, or a clue that they were going to find in this chest, but they completely left the room before they were ever going to find it. So make them find that clue somewhere else. And that's it. We've come to the end of prep already. In under 10 minutes, I was able to talk about everything that we need for D&D. It's not some overcomplicated thing. Start simple and let your world progress naturally. You're not just creating the story, your players are too. Make it collaborative. Take effort off of yourself and let your players do some of that work for you. So, with that, we've reached the end. Have fun playing, and good luck.